Because it's
Yeah.
cool. Like I said, it's good to strive for something. Like if you have that desire to be the best NFL player or whatever the case is, or even like if we can bring it to the church, like you want to be the best pastor, the best sound person, or the best usher. Like that's cool until you start idolizing it, and until you start making it your sole identity.
What up, boys?
How's it going, yo?
We're live. We're doing this thing. What's up, Ryan?
How's it going, guys?
All boys podcast.
Yeah,
All
the
fellas.
fellas, all the dudes. Ryan, did you purposely wear a collared shirt like that for the show?
I thought it would look good. I woke up like 10 minutes ago, so I needed some help. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you should
So.
think again. Just kidding. Because you look terrible. Just kidding.
That's crazy.
Well, welcome to the show, guys. You guys are one of the few returning guests. Ryan, you've been on before. You were on a bonus episode of 2.0. Charles was on. He was episode like 20 something.
You know what's funny?
What?
I was thinking about I was thinking about that. That like I'm a returning guest, but this is the first time people might see my face.
I know. They're like, returning guests, who the flip is this dude? So let's do Sip&Awe real quick, and then we'll do some quick intros, okay?
All right.
Ryan, put your imaginary drink in the air. Wave it like you just don't care. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Lord, for the day that He has made for you and me. 1, 2, 3. Take a sip, y'all. Ooh, Ryan,
I was going to do like more of a
there.
thing.
Yeah, slow down
I was
there.
going to do more of a effect, but maybe that.
Wow.
It's early. Yeah.
All right.
What?
Ryan. Is this normally early for you, Ryan? Would you typically be asleep for a while?
This is actually kind of late for me. Like, yeah, I usually wake up around like 4:30 or 5.
Really?
So I'm sleeping in that. Like, this is like the equivalent to like sleeping in till like 2 p.m. for me.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. What about you, Charles? Are you typically an early riser, or do you like to sleep in?
Yeah, I'm usually up about like 8 o'clock. I need to like work on getting up earlier though.
Yeah, me
Just
too. Yeah. So why don't you fellas? Let's just talk about how we quickly know each other. Okay. I met Charles in high school. We had biology together, and he sat behind me, and he was really bad at his work, and he paid me for the answers on his test. So if it wasn't for me, he'd be still in high school at 25 years old. He's also my brother. Sadly. Just kidding.
So is it like a Parent Trap situation where you guys like both had a ripped photograph?
We didn't know each other.
They like matched perfectly together.
They're doing roll. It's like Charlie Winsor. That's weird. My last name's Winsor. He's like, shut up, twerp, and he shoved me in the locker.
What's crazy is that we didn't figure out we were brothers till summer. We had the whole class together, but we didn't figure it out till the end of the year.
And then you guys hated each other. Then they put you all in detention together.
Right.
Interact.
Yep. And then that same science teacher put us on a project to really bring us together. And it
took a minute for it to like. It took a minute for it to click. You're like, wait, you don't know your mom. And I don't know my dad. So...
We both have the same last name. Yeah. We kind of look alike, but like not really. So like we're not only brothers by like bond, but like by blood as well. So quite the journey.
And Ryan was our science teacher in that biology class.
I was, yeah.
He
I wasn't even qualified,
twice.
which is crazy. Yeah.
He wasn't even a science teacher. He just came in one day.
I've not one but 2 felonies. Yeah.
What's that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio? You Can't Catch Me, or Catch Me If You Can, when he fakes to be the teacher. That's what Ryan did. He was just running from the police, and he ran inside the school, and he was like, "Sup, class? My name's Derek."
Put us on that project.
It was a public school and a New Mexican school, so they didn't really care.
Yeah, they didn't.
They let it slide.
They actually needed people. They were like, "Wow, like this guy just." Our prayers were answered. This random dude just showed up.
You know what it was? I was wearing a collared shirt. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've never been to college in your life. Actually, Ryan's my cousin. His dad is our grandmother's, mine and Charlie's grandmother's, their brother and sister. And so we are on the family tree. We're second cousins.
You could have just said his dad is our uncle.
Because, well, I have to explain it because our mom is his first cousin. And so we are second cousins. Yeah. Man, will you just let me do what I got to do?
I'm just saying, I'm sorry. I honestly thought you were going to say his dad is our grandmother.
He's going to come up in here and just run the, you know what, Charles, you run the show. Go ahead. There you go.
I like that way of just saying his dad is our uncle. His dad is our aunt's brother.
Aunts, brothers, babysitters, dog sitters, our
grandfather's brother-in-law.
His drug dealer.
Yeah.
What?
He's actually not even in the family. He came in one day, and they just took him in off the streets.
And he just walked in, and everyone's like, "Hey, uncle." I'm like, "I guess that's my uncle now." But
this guy on Shark Tank, he said, "Yeah, it was my wife's father-in-law," and then they're like, "Isn't that just your dad?"
Yep, you got to sound professional, right? Get it. My wife's father-in-law. That's your dad, dude.
That's funny.
All right, boys. Here is today's topic.
Fantastic.
Well, first off, thank you guys for doing this. This is my first time filming an episode since I've been back from Mexico. So I'm super excited to be doing this with y'all.
I'm not wearing pants. Is that okay?
That's actually needed. We need more of that. Charles, are you pantsless right now?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
I don't believe you. Stand up. Stand up.
I was contemplating it. I was like, well, like he's not going to see me, so
I am wearing lingerie.
See the bottom half. See, that's what I'm not doing. I'm not wearing lingerie.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I can't find mine.
I'm wearing pants that are like 20 sizes too big. It's like both of my legs fit in one pant leg, and I'm not wearing a belt.
I wear double XL.
They could easily just fall.
Oh, good thing you're sitting.
Sorry, Brandon, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay.
Appropriately,
so today's topic. What?
Yeah.
See it again.
I said I think appropriately though. I think that needed to be shared. What we just talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, because now the people know that your answer, just the quality of your answer, is going to be even more because there's no pants involved.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this: do you have high socks on, or is it just no pants, no socks?
No pants,
lingerie,
no socks, but I do have on a thong,
cowboy boots
designed for men. Yeah.
Wow. It has like a side pocket for your Dr. Pepper.
Your tools.
Yeah. So I think I'll stop there with my joke. I forget what podcast we're on.
Anyways, so continue. This is a topic that I was thinking about in Mexico. Because I heard an individual talk about it, and I was like, man, I would love to hear Ryan and Charlie, and sadly Kyla's point, but she's not here today, but she will be soon. And I want to talk about feeling proud of yourself, and if you feel proud of yourself. And so I just want to kind of present you guys with the question: are you proud of yourself? And so when I was presented with the question, someone told me that they were proud of what I was doing with the podcast. I'm like, oh, that means a lot. Thank you so much. And then I had a moment, I was like, man, am I proud of myself? Like, am I happy with what I'm doing? And then a man that me and Ryan follow very much so, I don't know what Charlie does. His name is Jordan Peterson. He talks about that saying, are you proud of yourself is probably not the right phrasing because that's when pride comes in. But he was saying we should actually say, we're doing the best with what we have. And so I really, really like that terminology. I really liked that phrasing. So I just kind of want to hand it off to either Ryan or Charlie, whatever you guys want to, whoever wants to start. But yeah, for Charles,
answer.
Simply, are you proud of yourself? Simply yes and no, and maybe explain why or why not. But I have a second question. So don't mention something that you're doing that you're not proud of, because that's going to be part of the second question. So does that make sense? Like if you're doing something in your life that you're not proud of.
Okay.
Yeah. So just simply question number one.
Why?
Are you proud of yourself? Yes or no? Maybe why? Okay. And then the second question is, what are you doing that you're not proud of? So don't really be specific in your first answer. I hope that helps.
Okay.
Yeah. So Charles, are you proud of yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I came a long way. I mean, definitely doing a whole lot different now than what I was doing about 2 years ago. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like Peterson said, I'm doing the best with what I have.
Mm-hmm.
Made a lot of good changes throughout the years. I feel a lot better than how I used to feel. So yeah, I would say
Yeah,
I'm proud
talk
of
about
myself.
that. What were you doing 2 years ago that you weren't really proud of?
Well, uh, I was really just stuck. So like, evidently, I was really seeking fulfillment, if you will, through everything. It first started off with um, like drugs, sex, and alcohol. Which I mean, I had fun. Don't get me wrong, and I had like get great memories with that, but it just wasn't fulfilling.
Right. Sorry. It's like
I
which was fun, but just kidding.
well, because like
Just
you can make
yeah.
like I have cool memories. Like I had the experience under my belt. But there's a difference between having fun and it being fulfilling. Because the next morning I would wake up like absolute dog water, like like empty almost. But
Right.
I've met beautiful people. I have a group of friends that came from that scene that who I like absolutely love.
Yeah.
We are do I would consider them brothers almost, just because we've known each other for so long, and they helped me through um a lot of the adversities I faced back in the day. So going based off that and eventually, finding God, um, and really, I was trying to think of how to say this, but kind of, I guess, moving with love, if you will, because I feel like growing up, at least for me, like I moved with a lot of negativity. I would beat myself up a lot, and I would almost like diminish myself and
Yeah.
demean my journey,
Yeah.
and like almost talk negatively about myself. And so through the partying and stuff, obviously it wasn't the best for me, but like with the people I met, they kind of introduced me how to move with love,
Yeah.
essentially, and then that kind of helped me grow into my seeking and finding God, essentially, which is obviously the ultimate love. And
Right.
so yeah.
Right on. So you are proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. Ryan, what would you say? Are
Very
you proud of
cool.
yourself?
Um, I'd say overall, yes, but I guess there's like different kinds of um being self-proud, I guess, because it feels kind of strange for me to be, say, if I accomplished something, especially a goal of mine, to be proud of myself because I don't know, it kind of messes with my hunger and my motivation a little bit, So and two, I often find that when I am proud of myself, it is very short-lived, you know,
Hmm.
and it is typically through achieving goals.
Yeah.
Um, and it's nice when you've been trying to achieve that goal and then finally you attain it, and then you feel exhilarated for maybe a second, but
Yeah.
then it's gone, and I'm on to
Right.
the next thing. But in overall life, I am content. And I did hear a phrase that happiness is being anywhere else than where you are right now. And so I do try to count my blessings and have presence and um enjoy where I'm at, wherever I'm at
Yeah.
currently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in that sense, yeah.
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 Yeah. Whenever I was presented with the question where I started thinking about this question, for me, answering it was really difficult because I beat myself up so much. Even today, I just have a hard time when people say that they're proud of me. I have a hard time believing them, or um, I don't necessarily agree with them to some degree, and sometimes. But overall, kind of like what Ryan said, overall, yes, I am proud of myself. Because I have grown so much in the past 5 years. Um, and I kind of look at the things that I've kind of been through within the years, and it's like it's really cool that I've stuck things out and I've kind of fought in a good fight towards certain areas in my life. And I'm like here. I'm here today. I'm thankful. I'm blessed, and I'm really,
Mm-hmm.
really, yeah, I'm pretty proud of my journey and where I've been. Do you guys find it hard to believe people when they say they're proud of you? Do you kind of like view it
I
as
used
it's like
to.
no, like stop, like no, like I don't really agree with you, or it's like thanks, like I know, like
Eh,
what I just did was pretty cool.
it's not really being proud of, because like with the people I have now, who have seen kind of my transition through life and my journey, like you know, you can kind of look back like, okay, yeah, like I was moving one way, and then I, you know, kind of in a sense cleaned up my act, if you will. But back then in high school, it was people who would almost not prophesy, but like prophesy, say like, oh, like you're gonna do great things in your life, and you're meant for this stuff and all that and the other. And like I would have friends say like, oh, like you're meant to have a mansion. You're gonna be this high paying doctor with this hot wife, and like we're all gonna like do this and be and everything. And in the back of my head, I was like, honestly, like I just kind of want to get a measly job, pay bills, and die. Like that's what I thought my value was to Earth. Um, and really just because it was the easy route, you
Mhm.
know, like um, but yeah, so it's not really being people saying they're proud of me. It's when people like say like I'm meant. It used to be when people would say I'm meant for great things. Is when I'd be like, that's not me.
Right.
Yeah, that would be what I have a hard time for it.
Yeah. Ryan.
I used to. Um, and then I thought about it from my perspective, like when I compliment someone else and when they're like, thank you, when it seems like I made their day, it makes me feel good. But when they're like, oh, no, 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 don't, then I feel almost poorly for, you know, putting that guilt on them.
Yeah.
And so when they started complimenting me, I'd just say thank you, whether I agreed with it or not. I'd just be like, thank you. I appreciate you for saying that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And then over time, I started to look at it in a healthy way, not like in a conceited way, not in like, oh yeah, I'm all that. But just because there are times where I even feel like I'm lying, like being falsely modest. You know what I mean? Like if someone says, that's a pretty good, drawing, or your song's pretty good, or um, internally I'd be like, no, it's not. But then
Yeah.
times I think like, but I am a pretty good artist. If someone tried to
yeah,
do something or add input to a song in this way, I'd think like, no, I have the better idea. And it's
Yeah.
like, even though I'd
yeah,
be disagreeing with them over here, I was still kind of lying to myself because I can still be kind of arrogant. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
hmm
So just trying to find the middle ground between those two things, between being arrogant and falsely modest and lying to
Right.
myself and thinking I suck.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
When I don't know, when do you guys see the line between accepting a compliment and agreeing with it? So yeah, like for example, like you did a really good job for this event or whatever. It's like, you know what? I did a good job. Where's the line between thank you, I actually did a good job versus, oh yeah, I know I did a good job, where you're super prideful, right? So like how would you guys balance that out? Not that I have a hard time balancing it. I'm just curious what you guys think.
this is the best
Yeah.
podcast you've ever listened to. um,
It is. Just kidding.
um, honestly, I don't know.
Can you ask that question one more time? Like you said,
Yeah.
how do we find a balance between
Being
that false
arrogant and
modesty, that false modesty?
Yeah, like where do you draw the line
Oh, where do we draw the
between
line?
It's like, okay, Ryan, I'm really proud of that song you just made. So the
That's a
one
really
side you
good
can be like,
question, man.
one side it's like, yo, thank you so much. It's a genuine thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Versus the other side's like, oh yeah, I know that was a good song because I'm awesome.
I think for me, because I do try to maintain a little bit of that hunger, and I like to say thank you, like acknowledging they took time out of their day to
Mhm.
compliment me and to say something kind, um, and to also say like, yeah, what I'm doing is good, but also think it could also be better, but not in the sense
Mhm.
that I suck. I
Right.
just, it could be better,
Yeah.
and to not halt that trajectory, the momentum of improvement. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, just like,
Yeah.
looking at it like it could be better, but I also don't suck as a human being.
Right.
Like, don't,
I
Mhm.
have
don't,
I have
be
2
self-deprecating.
points. Right.
Yeah.
I like that. I have 2 points. One, I think it's if you're seeking praise, that's an issue. If you want people to say that they're proud of you or you did a really good job, if you're searching for that, I think that's prideful. Um, I forgot my
And
second point, but the first
insecure,
one, yeah,
Yeah.
I total
just like you're
100% I agree
insecure.
with that.
Yeah.
Um, oh
I
yeah,
think it's
so
okay.
go ahead, go ahead.
When I'll finish your thought, because
Okay, so my second one is when you can be honest with yourself. Basically, for in my instance, like with ministry, if someone came up to me and is like, "Oh, you preached a really well message, but my secret life doesn't really line up with Christian values. Like my personal life doesn't line up with what I should be doing." I think that's where it's like that's the line where you're not doing a good job, but someone says you're doing a good job, and you can kind of
where
like
it's
go,
just not genuine.
right, where you can just like, oh yeah,
Okay.
dude, thank you so much. Like I know I am the best,
Yeah.
but you're actually not the best,
That's a good
right?
point.
Like your
Yeah.
private life does not line up with what you're projecting in front of people. So you're kind of putting on this false pride of you are awesome, but in reality you're not.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, Charles,
Well,
what do
it
you
just
think?
comes.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say that you can kind of acknowledge the confidence without being arrogant, because like there's some like even like with my pastors, and even for me, like there's been times where I've stepped off stage and I'm like, you know what, that message felt really good,
Hmm.
and there's more times than none that where I get off the platform and I'm like, dude, that absolutely sucked. But then I have somebody coming to me like, you know what, I really needed that. Like, okay, like at the end of the day, I'm always thankful that at the very least I was able to influence one person, regardless of how I feel. Um, and like too, like as long as we don't idolize it, like as long as we're not searching for praise or searching for the platform, like at the end of the day, like yeah, you just come at this, honestly, we're not doing what we do for the sake of other people. We're doing what we do for the sake of loving it and enjoying it, like
Yeah,
you guys with the music and podcasting,
right.
like so I think as long as you don't well, kind of like what you brought up before in your past podcast, just idolizing the numbers and idolizing the people and worrying more about getting more subscribers versus the, I guess, your love for it
Yeah,
genuinely. So yeah, or something, I
yeah.
don't know, something like that.
Right.
And I think in my own personal life, I would seek praise, and I'm not dogging on anybody, but growing up, I didn't really hear praise a lot. I didn't really hear "I'm proud of you." I didn't really hear "what you're doing is a good job." And I'm not dogging anybody. Like that's I don't know. I recognize I didn't really hear it much. So then whenever I was kind of put in a position where I was doing more, I would actually seek it out. And then when I didn't receive it, I'd actually kind of get mad. I would either get mad at the person or I would get mad at myself for not doing a good enough job. And then I kind of came into a place. I read Galatians 1:10. It says, "Are you here to please man or to please God?" And I just had this revelation. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be doing things to please man and looking for praise. everything that I do just needs to bring glory to the Father. And through that, people are going to pat you on the back. Through that, people are going to criticize you. And I think that's when you're able to take criticism openly because you're not prideful. You don't think I am the bee's knees. But
Yeah.
I was in that trap of seeking praise for the longest time, and it was really exhausting. It
Yeah.
turned everything that I do ingenuine because I just wanted a pat on the back. So
Right.
Yeah. No, and it can get like that. That was something I had to kind of talk to myself about, just understanding that it's a thankless job. Not only like for me, it's being a man. Like just essentially, I feel like we have a lot of responsibility, and a lot of men nowadays want the praise and they want the acknowledgement, but at the end of the day, you're really just doing your job,
mm-hmm.
and that's kind of what it is with my job as a bartending and with serving at the church. Like, if I was looking for a thank you every Sunday when I did sounds, I'd be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go in and think, okay, like I'm helping improve the quality of service, and because of my ability to do sound and work the equipment, like it doesn't matter if I get thanked or not. I know like my value of yeah. I just know my value and what I put into service, or what I put into my
Yeah.
job and what I bring to the table. So it
Right.
doesn't matter what other
Yeah, when
people
you're
say.
outcome oriented, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's a good point because Charlie brought up your intention when you're pursuing something, like when you're pursuing something for the love of it versus pursuing something uh, for poor reasons, I
Yeah.
guess, for lack of a better way of describing it. Because I feel like when you're saying, Brandon, about like trying to seek praise, doing something for, external validation.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's interesting. That's like why most celebrities, are so depressed and not content with their life because they're thinking like, oh, that goal, that'll get me self-adoration,
Right.
that'll
It's
finally
like I
get
didn't
me
win
that
the
love.
Emmy. I didn't win that
Yeah,
Grammy. They did. Dang it.
I could get love from
Well,
other
that's
people
I
and
mean that's
get
with
love for
anything.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean
And
that's with anything. It's the famous saying. Money doesn't buy happiness. Like it's even biblical. Like the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money itself, because you can use money for good and to influence good things. But if you love money, if you idolize fame, if you idolize the Emmy award or whatever, that's when it gets toxic. And
Yeah.
that's when you start kind of doing things for the wrong reasons just to get that award. And then when you get that award, it's at the end of the day, it's just a piece of gold or
Mm-hmm.
a
yeah,
statue.
it's interesting too, because even like chasing the goal is a distraction, like away
Mm-hmm.
from the true issues
Yeah,
lying
that too.
underneath. And I have a certain theory that because so many people pursue these kind of goals, or just any goal that, will be externally validating. And I feel like a large portion of the population probably self-sabotages just because I think unconsciously they know that won't fulfill them. And the chase is addicting. The
Mm-hmm.
chase is such
Yeah,
like a huge distraction from your problems that if you keep chasing your addiction or whatever's distracting you, you'll never have to confront those things.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's kind of a
Yeah.
cool
yeah.
like
That's
segue. It's like what's the line again between a goal being a humble, great goal versus it being a distraction? And it's like not a healthy goal to have. Um,
Yeah.
I
I
would
I
say
think
you're oh, go ahead.
I think like what Ryan brought up is just your reasoning of doing it, because
Right.
it's always good to level up. I mean, like
Yeah.
that's how I kind of started with my faith. Like I was introduced to what it's like to kind of move in love and to seek some sort of spirituality. And eventually I got to a certain place and I was like, okay, this is cool, but it's not the full thing. Okay, let's go. Let's keep it up. So I think it's good to, strive to be your better self. I mean, like,
Totally.
I think there's a good reason for the Olympics and for like sports people to improve themselves and stuff. But I think it gets toxic when you're using that goal to distract yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because then one day, whether it be today, tomorrow, the next month, whatever the case is, you're gonna obtain that goal, whether it's more money, more status, more fame, more followers, a platinum gold album, and then it's gonna be that thing of now what? You got the goal, you made the money, you made the platinum album, you have 100,000 subscribers, whatever the goal is. Now what?
Mm-hmm.
Because you treated this goal as it was going to be your problem solver, and it was going to fulfill everything that was going wrong in your life. When in reality, that's not the case.
Yeah.
That
I
is
think about that.
a
Oh, go ahead.
interesting. What were you say, Brandon?
I was just gonna say that's how I see with like the NFL or something. Like your goal is to be the best football player ever, and then you twist your ankle, and then you're out for the whole season, and then you lose identity, you lose value. It's like flip. Like what the heck? Like maybe
That
my
Yeah,
is an
intentions
interesting
weren't right.
thing when you finally get to attain that goal. Then you're met
Yeah.
with the crossroads,
Right.
because then all those feelings that you've been suppressing and ignoring come flooding in,
yeah,
because your finite goal didn't satiate you, and you can
mm-hmm.
either find more distraction through
Mm-hmm.
alcohol, sex, whatever, or you can have transcendence and really look at these things and be like, oh, what have I been ignoring, and really sort through
Mm-hmm.
them.
Right.
Yeah.
And look in the
Like
mirror.
I've seen videos of a lot of celebrities doing that. Like they what that who's that one homie from The Office
Steve
with
Carell,
the no
Rain
with
Wilson,
John Krasinski.
the homie
Rain
with the
Wilson.
glasses.
Oh, Rainn
Right, yeah.
Wilson.
So he did an interview, and he even said he was like, I gained everything I ever wanted. I had the fame, I had the money, and I still wasn't fulfilled. And it thankfully it drove him into a journey of there has to be something more meaningful than this. And like I don't know where he's at now, but I just saw that little snippet and I was like, okay, like, people are kind of like realizing that.
Hey guys, I wanted to stop real quick and say thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I want to challenge you with something. If you know someone in your life that you know that they would like this episode, stop what you're doing and send it their way so that we can keep growing the Sip&Awe family. All right, thank you for sharing, and let's get back to the episode.
Because it's cool. Like I said, it's good to strive for something. Like if you have that desire to be the best NFL player or whatever the case is, or even like if we can bring it to the church, like you want to be the best pastor, the best sound person, or the best usher. Like that's cool until you start idolizing it, and until you start making it your sole identity. Is you are
Right.
nothing without being an NFL player. You are nothing without pastoring. You are nothing without ushering. You are nothing without music. Like no, like music is just something you love. Pastoring is just something you love, and and playing football is something you love. It's not
Mm-hmm.
who you are. It's just I guess essentially a part of you,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the whole thing. And
Mm.
so yeah, I think it gets rocky when you just start idolizing these external things.
Right. I think it's anything in the sense of like you just want to better yourself, I think is a healthy goal. Like I'm not going to go to the gym every morning because I'm better than everybody. And and I'm not in the sports world. Maybe you need that kind of motivation. Like I don't know how Kobe or my MJ, I don't know what their mindset
Yeah.
was when going into the gym, but it's like I need to go to the gym to better myself. I need to eat healthier to better myself and to better the people around me. It's like I need to do this to make their lives easier and kind of um, seek the best for other people and help them out rather than being so self-centered. Um, so yeah, that's how I see it. Do you guys have any more thoughts on that point?
It seems like just when you keep love at the center of anything, I think you'll be
Yeah.
okay. I
Right.
think you'll be fine, you know, to put
Yeah.
it in simplistically. But I
Yeah.
also I believe that. I think that's the truth, and I know it because I've, felt it,
Sure.
you know.
Um, Going on to my second question. Now this is the one I'm like really excited about. You guys can be as vulnerable as you want to be. You can be as broad as you want to be. But what is something you're doing in your life right now that you're not proud of?
Hmm. Hmm.
I honestly thought we answered this question already,
Well, if you felt like you
but
answered it, then you don't have to
well,
answer it. But it's like one
well, no,
specific
because
thing.
because I was thinking of my past. Like
Oh,
you're like, oh, what were you doing back then that you weren't proud of? I was like, well, since we're getting into that, I might as well.
well, like right now,
But
today, what is something in your life you're doing
okay,
right now that you're not proud of?
Ryan, you got one?
I feel like I'm a bit selfish. I'm very selfish. I could be a lot more selfless than what I am
Mm-hmm.
being, you know. Um, I think that's definitely one to put it vaguely. Um, and I think I always try to condone it or what would you say? Self negotiate and say like, "Oh, I'm in my
Hmm.
20s." You're selfish in your
Yeah,
20s,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
but it's, not that's not necessarily the case, but then at the same time, that's funny because we're talking about poor motivations for poor goals.
hmm
I think you can even get into that territory with seemingly positive things.
Yeah.
I could
hmm
go crazy and go to the soup kitchen all the time and, just to
yeah,
show other people, look how great of a person I am, you know.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But
So
internally,
it
you're
could
hurting.
it could get rocky in that direction
Yeah.
too. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you have any
I'd probably
thoughts?
say selfish.
Do you have any thoughts on
Okay.
what you can do to not be so selfish? Like maybe some like
I
action
think
steps you can start taking?
probably baby steps, it could be something as simple as going out of my way to tell someone hello or good morning, you know,
hmm
Mm-hmm.
giving someone a smile, that's doable.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe make the occasional dinner or breakfast for my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you just saying you're selfish with your time and efforts,
maybe. I mean, I do.
essentially, well, I guess my overall question is like, what do you feel you're being selfish with? Because before we can find a solution, like what's the actual problem?
Yeah. That's a good question. I
Well,
suppose
I shouldn't say problem, but
I don't know if this is a good way to describe it, but because I will get the idea, like the thought will come into my head of, hey,
yeah.
maybe I should make dinner or something. And then I'm like, "Ugh, but I don't feel like doing that. Or,
I don't feel like it.
I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Talk to me later, Mr. K. Yeah. So, uh, I really don't know. It's funny because
Okay.
I've kind of entered a territory in my life recently where, because before I used to be able to describe exactly what I'm feeling. I knew exactly what I was feeling and why.
hmm
And recently, like in the past year and a half, maybe even 2 years, when I feel something, I don't always know why,
Mm-hmm.
hmm
and which is interesting.
Does
So,
that mess with you?
I think it's kind of cool. I kind of like it because, and I think it's a good sign because I think I've like gone from like the conscious contents in my psyche and I've moved into the unconscious and I'm getting to
Okay.
make myself aware of these things. And I think why I also think this is because, like, for example, I used to be able to remember 9 out of every 10 dreams I would have. Now I remember like
Wow.
2 out of every 10.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
still couldn't tell you what I dreamt last night.
so,
Same.
which I think that's a good thing. I think that means you're
Yeah.
probably living in
Yeah.
a moral way, or
Yeah.
it's not, your life's not so
Yeah.
chaotic that, your dreams become, because I think dreams are
Super.
like an unconscious way the mind communicates,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um,
Okay.
so I think that's a good sign that I can't remember my dreams. Like it's moved into the unconscious to where I'm not aware of anything, and
Interesting.
my brain just discards it immediately once I wake up. I
Mm.
think
Yeah.
that's my theory. Could
Yeah.
be
Do
wrong.
you
Okay.
remember, Ryan? We were talking about how I heard someone say that if you have a dream about somebody, that means they're thinking about you.
Yeah.
And I told you that. You're like, no, that's not right. I don't think Simon Cowell was thinking about me last night. What the heck? You had a dream about American Idol or something.
Did
So
I say
random.
that? Was that me?
Yeah.
Are you sure that was
Yeah, that
me?
was you. I promise that was you.
That's a pretty good joke. I'm
Yeah.
proud of that. If that was me, that's good.
What about you, Charles? What is something you're doing right now as you sit in that seat that you're not proud of?
um, I wouldn't say not proud of, but it's definitely a learning experience. I'm learning what to put my confidence in God in, because
Okay.
recently I went through a breakup and it's been rough. Just because like we were very vulnerable. Like it was one of my first relationships where we were very like vulnerable with each other, like vocally. Like we would just talk
Mm-hmm.
about anything and everything. It was very cool, short lived, but very cool. And I've been mad at God essentially because it's like I tried giving this to him every step of the way. I mean, even like whenever we before me and her first started dating, I would pray and I prayed that famous prayer of like, Lord, if she's for me, um, make it, kind of make it happen. If she's not for me, like let it die, essentially. And our attraction, kept growing and growing, and we dated, and I still evidently got hurt, and so it's like, well, Lord, like if like what, why did I go through this if I was just gonna get hurt again? And I was talking to my pastor about it a little bit, and he was like, you're putting your confidence in the wrong things. Like like uh, subconsciously, I think that because I gave it to God, I'm not going to get my heart broken, but that's not the promise. If anything, when you move towards like what God kind of has for you, the persecution gets worse, and we can evidently, and so like like we're not promised a easy life. Like there's still going to be heartbreaks, there's still going to be disappointed, but we're promised that He's going to be with us through it all.
Mm-hmm.
And so really just trying to learn to like not be so angry at Him and not, I don't want to say not give Him credit or like not, I don't know, but just essentially not be so mad at Him and learn to where to put my confidence in, and like that because I'm following God now and because I've built a better understanding of my spirituality, doesn't mean I'm gonna all of a sudden have this easy life, and
So
I'm
did
gonna
you feel
be,
mad at God?
yeah, because like my biggest question was like, I gave this to you, God. Like I prayed before, I prayed during a relationship, I prayed like after, like evidently I gave it to you. So why did I still get my heart broken? If I gave it to you, like why did she still leave? And like it's just I'm essentially learning like to not put my confidence in the fact that because I follow God, I'm gonna have an easy life, but put my confidence in when times do get rough as they do, um, that He's gonna be there with me and to help and wherever I kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, but so that's, I wouldn't say not proud of, but definitely um a learning experience that I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. I like that. You know who Bill Johnson is, Charles?
no.
No.
Maybe you might have mentioned him, but I don't know if
Okay,
I've
so
looked into him
he's
a whole
he's the
lot.
pastor for Bethel. He's really, really good. But he essentially was talking about the biggest thing that stumbles Christians. The biggest question that stumbles Christians is why, because they always ask
Hmm.
God, why did this happen or why whatever. And he was saying that, and you basically you're doing what he said. And he was saying that rather than asking why, just knowing God's character through your situation, knowing that he is good, knowing that he's with you, knowing that regardless of what's going on, that he's on your side and he's ministering to you through that is what is that's the right way to be in that situation rather than asking why, is just knowing his character. So that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But Ryan, have you ever been like mad at God before?
Ever been mad at God?
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't say that I have, actually.
Okay.
Funny enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never been mad at God. Um, that is a question I'd have to ponder though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I think I think in a sense it's healthy. I mean, like to an extent, um, because essentially, if we think about it, like He is our heavenly Father,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think going to Him in your anger is good. And kind of like crying out to Him essentially. Because I saw a video where this girl she was talking about her prayer life and she was worried about asking God questions repeatedly and talking about this, but she was like, I'd much rather get to heaven and hear God say, "Oh, here's a familiar voice," than Him to say, "I never knew you."
Mm-hmm.
And so just like regardless, because even and I think people idol like they get like worried about it because I have friends who get they life sucks sometimes. It is what it is, but they're so scared to come to God with that emotion because we think of God as like the Almighty, the All Knowing, and but in the Bible it doesn't say don't show anger, don't show emotion. It says don't sin in your anger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even if we get into the evolution side of it, if that is a thing, we're talking about survival of the fittest. So therefore, we need our emotions if they had stuck through all the generations and all the stuff throughout the years, and we need emotions for survival. And so, yeah,
Hmm.
right.
but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, anger's just as valid as uh, happiness or
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
sadness
Totally.
or any emotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
And God's the best person to come to with any question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess as far as like anger towards God, I've always been the kind of person that I'm like, well, those are just the cards I've been dealt, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
That's interesting. What
Yeah.
am I supposed to deal with this scenario? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
So I don't know. That's not the most exciting response ever, but
No. I thinking about it, I don't think I've ever been mad at God or angry at God. I have questioned why certain things have happened. I remember my first year in Go Ministries. A friend of the ministry, he had cancer, and so we were praying for him, praying for healing and stuff. And he ended up dying. And I was like, "What the heck? Like, I thought we were praying for him to get better, and he died. Like, what happened?" Like,
yeah,
I was just kind of confused.
yeah,
Um, so I think that is the one time I can think of right now is where I was genuinely just like, "What the heck, God? Like, you didn't pull
yeah,
through, homie." And one of my favorite answers, I asked one of the pastors what happened, and they were like, "I don't know." And for some reason, I loved that because when it
that he
comes to
said,
that
I don't know.
situation, yeah, they're like, "I don't know what happened," and because like maybe they saw heaven, they didn't want to come back. Um, Maybe they were already in heaven because he was in the coma. It's like we don't know what happened, and so
yeah.
I was like,
Maybe,
I
yeah.
like that. Sometimes I like an I don't know rather than someone just kind of talking out of their
Trying
butt
to
for them
do
to
it,
feel
yeah,
Yeah,
better. It's like, dude, like
yeah,
if you
yeah.
don't know, then you
Well,
don't know.
there's
that
even
is cool.
I think it's in the book of Habakkuk or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it,
Habakkuk.
but yeah, but it says I'll have to look for the chapter. But essentially it says even though things don't go my way or things don't go how I thought they would, like I will still praise you.
Right.
Essentially, because I think we do that. I mean, obviously, like I know I've done it for sure. Like we and just hearing about it, like people get like that. They think that because that they give it to God and they pray and they do all this that essentially it means that it's gonna work out for them or that like something's gonna happen when essentially like it's not always the case. And it does leave that big question of like, okay, well if it didn't work out, then why? Or what
Hmm.
happened?
Right.
And so, essentially
Yeah,
it's just because we do live in a fallen world and sin happens and evil happens, and sometimes things just happen. It is what it is.
Right. Yeah, people's
Right.
praise is circumstantial and people's joy is
Yeah,
circumstantial. It's
Um,
like
yeah.
I heard a minister say this, and in 1 Thessalonians 5, it talks about rejoice continually. And he said
Mm-hmm.
it's really easy to rejoice when everything's going your way. And so you need to train yourself to rejoice when things are not going your way. And so you need to learn how to rejoice and be grateful and thankful in the midst of a trial or pain. And so I thought that was really cool. It's like, it's
mm,
pretty obvious. It's really easy to rejoice when everything's going my way. And
mm,
I think learning how to struggle well, learning how to be thankful when your life doesn't really seem like you should be thankful is a beautiful way to live.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that this too shall pass mentality.
Mhm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'll be driving down on the freeway. It's noon on my day off on a Saturday, 75, 80 degrees out. I'm feeling great, blasting my music, and then remembering this too shall pass, and I'll be waking up at 4:30 a.m. feeling like
Mm-hmm.
crud, you know.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And but then that will pass,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like all about the ebbs and
You have to wake up
flows.
at 4:30.
Yeah,
He's
Like
an athlete.
just that's
yeah,
gross.
Terrible, Ryan. I'm so sorry you have
training.
to do that.
Dang.
Yeah, that reminds me. Did you get that quote, "This too shall pass" from Tom Hanks?
Yes, I
Yes.
did.
There's
Is it
a
From
Tom
that
Hanks?
yeah,
round
he's
Oh
in
table,
yeah, it
he's in a
is. Yeah,
round
yeah,
the
table.
yeah,
round
He
table.
was
yeah,
like, one of
yeah,
the
yeah,
greatest
yeah,
lessons I've
yeah.
learned is this too shall pass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
When it's
yeah,
amazing outside, this too shall pass. When your day's terrible,
yeah,
yeah.
this too shall pass. I'm like, I like that, Tom. Good job.
yeah.
I
I
like
like
the
the
if it doesn't
presence.
bug. I like the if it doesn't affect you in 5 years, it shouldn't affect you for more than 5 minutes.
Mm.
Mm,
Mm.
mm.
Fast, you know,
I
because
Yeah,
like
like it.
yeah.
because there's people that have gone, and I mean like that's obviously like circumstantial because I've also learned to kind of grieve, um, I guess heartbreak, if you will, and grieve like the bad instead of trying to rush through it all the time.
Right.
But
That's
essentially,
healthy.
like with the 5 minute, 5 minutes of 5 years, there's people who will get cut off in the morning and then um, come back home and be like, oh, I had such a bad day. This person cut me off and before work and yada yada. And it's like there's still that happened in the morning time.
It's like that one thing
That
set
was
your entire
yeah,
Yeah,
day.
that was the morning. Like that did not have to affect you all that,
Yeah.
right.
you know. So
That
like so yeah.
yeah. That reminds
Yeah.
me, sorry to cut you off, Charles, but that
No,
reminds
you're
me of
good.
a cool quote from an Eckhart Tolle book. There's two monks. They were walking down a dirt road. It had just rained, and there's this woman who was walking across the road, and there's a big puddle, and she wanted to get across, and she said, "Hey, can you help me? Can you carry me across and put me on the other side of the road?" And within their belief structure, they're not supposed to touch women or at least be attracted to women or pursue sexual endeavors.
Right.
And the master, he picked up the woman, carried her across the puddle, and then they kept walking. And then the student was just like, why did he do that? Just for
Mm-hmm.
miles. He was just thinking, like, why did he carry her over? And then finally, like 5 miles down the road, he asked his master why he did that. And he said, I put her down 5 miles ago. You've been carrying her this additional 5 miles in your
Wow.
mind.
Dude. Oh
And
my gosh.
I love that quote.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mic drop right there.
Boom. Boom.
I, I love this story. Uh, there's a story in which it's kind of weird because it involves a talking horse. But essentially, what happens is this
What?
boy just hold on. This boy is carrying his horse in the midst of this fog, and they're walking, and the boy's like, "I can't see where I'm going. I can't see the destination." And the horse is like, "Well, where can you see?" And he's like, "Just my next step." He said, "And that's how far you'll take." So just
Mm-hmm.
look towards your next step, and it's helped me that and just kind of
Mm,
learning to be like very present in this time because like
Mm-hmm.
with me moving and essentially getting ready for what I'm doing like and having friends doing the same thing they've came to me like oh like what are you gonna do after Bible college, what do you do after this? I was like, I haven't even gotten there. That's 2 years from now. I'm not even worried about that. I'm worried about like my next steps. I got to worry about renting a truck right now versus what I'm
Mm.
going to do 2 years from now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Something
Yeah.
I really, were you gonna say something, Brandon?
No, go ahead.
Something I loved was my friend, he said it was a lazy Sunday afternoon and he just wanted to watch a movie, you know. So he went to the movie theater, bought a ticket for him and his daughter. They sat down, and then when the movie started, the screen was like 2 feet by 2 feet, at
Mm,
least the image, and they were having these technical difficulties with the projector and they couldn't figure out. So they gave everyone a refund and sent him home. And I thought, like, wow, even something as seemingly certain as I want to see a movie today isn't certain. You can't be certain whether it's a good or a bad movie, but I thought you're going to at least see a movie today, but even something seemingly that certain isn't certain.
mm,
Hmm.
And I kind of liked that.
Yeah,
yeah. Dang.
I like that.
That
I
nothing's certain.
nothing certain. If I may, I want to answer my second question because I kind of forgot to
Yeah, we
answer
got
it.
Oh
way off
yeah,
track. Yeah.
Uh,
that's right.
I was just thinking
no,
that.
that was my bad. So something that I'm doing right now that I'm not proud of is my inconsistency with certain things in my life. I am your normal January 1st. Let's go to the gym every single day. Let's do this, 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 and this. And by February
Yeah.
1st, I'm not doing any of those things. Um, and I will say I'm proud of myself. I don't go to the gym every day, but I've gone to the gym more than I've ever been in my life. And on a consistent basis, but it's still
Nice, dude.
inconsistent, if that makes sense. Um,
Mm,
and so that's the biggest thing is like, for example, I told myself I wanted to read books every single day because I had this bad habit of I'd start a book and then I put it down and start another book. I put that book down and start another book. And I would never finish a book. And I've kind of fallen in that trap again where I started reading a book and I haven't touched it in a month or so. And I'm
mm,
not necessarily proud of that, but of course there's grace, and the fact that I'm still going to the gym is awesome because
yeah.
Mm,
um, going to the gym every single day last year wasn't even a reality. So now that I go a few times a week is way better. So it's just kind of
Mm,
stacking wins.
mm.
Um,
mm.
and then
Cool.
and a second thing I kind of want to ask you guys too is my thinking. I have sometimes I ponder on thoughts that I shouldn't, and I know that I shouldn't. Do you guys still struggle with your thoughts and struggle with thinking, or not really?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you guys kind of do you guys get out of the funk naturally? You just kind of like sit in it and just kind of mope and it just kind of slowly subsides and you feel better? Or do you kind of just look in the mirror, tell yourself to quit being dumb and then you just kind of move on? Or does it kind of depend?
With for me with anger, it's easy for me to like boom, cut it off.
Nice.
Um Even with something that like there was this one thought that was like it was about an ex and I was just giving it too much of my attention, but it was just so stimulating. It
Hmm.
was just like
Mhm,
seethed with hate in this
Yeah.
mhm,
fiction I'd put in my mind. And then one day I thought, I don't want to expose myself to that. So I stopped thinking about that and giving those kind of thoughts attention. I've been able to do that consistently with that, but like when it comes to like a sexual thought, that's so stimulating and it feels good. So it's difficult to drop it,
Hmm.
mhm.
to drop a
Yeah.
thought like that for me.
Right.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
What about you,
So,
Charles? How do you
Um,
handle your thoughts?
Usually I'll leave the room
Mm-hmm.
that I'm in. Just like really, I'll change the environment. I'll put on some music. I'll essentially distract myself. Uh, um, Depending on the thought. If it's anything like anger, I'll usually like take it out in the gym, if so needed. And I've also with this like walking with Christianity, I learned that not all of our thoughts are our thoughts.
Right. Yeah.
Like having intrusive thoughts is a thing. Like it's um. So when it comes to that, I'll kind of like flip the script in a sense. I'll take this hateful thought and turn it into like a positive thought. I'll try to, if it's about somebody that kind of did me dirty, I'll pray for them, hoping that they do better in life, or whatever the case, and pray to God to kind of help rearrange my heart towards this person.
Yeah.
Um, if it's anything lustful or sexual, I'll definitely like just leave the room and like go distract myself, throw on some music, go for a walk around the neighborhood. I'll sit in the living room, just because like I said, just a change of environment can help a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's essentially what I'll do to kind of take those thoughts captive
Yeah.
and switch them out.
I think what helped me is we had a guest minister. His name was Chip Brim. This was, dude, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. It was at Church Live.
Mm-hmm.
And he told a story about how he was in a foreign country, and they were like, "Hey, you need to come to the tent. A demon is like manifesting himself. You need to cast it out." Say, "Okay." So he goes over there and he brings a guy with him, and then the guy walks in, and the demon, through the man, looked at Chip's friend. He was like, "Your brother's in hell." And so the guy started weeping because his brother just died. And Chip
Jeez.
was like, "Wait, that's great news." And the guy's like, "What the heck?" Because he was like, the enemy, the devil, is the father of lies, which means he can't tell the truth. So him saying that your brother's in hell actually means he's in heaven. So that's great. And so I took that, and if there's any thought that comes in that um, attacks my character or kind of steals my joy, puts fear in my heart, I kind of rejoice. It's like, oh no, the opposite is actually the truth, in the sense of
Mm.
I suck, or I'm worthless. Anything that I'm doing sucks. It's like, no, actually, you're the father of lies. Therefore, the truth is, I am
Yeah.
worth something. What I'm doing is actually really good, and I'm making a difference in this life. And so that has helped me. And sometimes I honestly I vocally tell my thoughts to stop.
Mm-hmm.
My pastor, Pastor Denny, he tells a really funny story how he was having a thought in an elevator filled with people, and he just went, "No!" And everyone's like, "What the heck?" And so sometimes he said, sometimes you just got to scream no in an elevator and freak people out, man. Like sometimes you just got to do it. So,
Yeah.
but now I will
I,
say there are some things that that still get me, man. Like sometimes I
mm-hmm.
think about my past. I'm like, dang it, dude. Like, so I'm not perfect with it, but I'm better. So
That's
Mm-hmm.
what I like about that book, Meditations. I remember I gave you my notes on it,
yeah.
Brandon. That book
Wait, you
written by
typed that
Marcus
out? Those
Aurelius.
notes?
Yeah, yeah.
I salute you, brother. Those notes
So
changed my
wow,
life.
Thanks,
wow,
mate.
you can type, words.
I can
Jokes on
type.
you. I
I've
don't know how
been
to read.
I've been hitting that Mavis Beacon. I'm on that Mavis Beacon vein.
He just hits a
Facts.
Um,
word editor, make sure he gets it all right.
You just type an idea to Chat GBT and he does the entire thing. And you're
Yeah,
like, yep, I wrote that. I wrote that.
I
It's like, no,
wrote
you
that.
didn't, Ryan.
that's crazy. That ChatGPT is the thing.
Um, I think I probably brought it up. I don't know if I brought it up on this podcast. But yeah, if people don't know what it is, Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor back in like 160 AD or something. Don't quote me on that.
You're like, I
He was
personally
like
knew him.
this. I personally knew him, kind of a dick. No, I'm just joking. Um, um, but he was like a philosophical genius, and he just had these writings, these journalings of all these philosophical quotes. And the thing that was interesting about it was, well, when I was reading the book, because someone took all of his journalings and compiled them into one book. When I was reading them, there it is very repetitive, and that A showed that he didn't intend anyone to read it,
Mhm.
but B, it showed even though he knew those things, he was constantly having to remind himself of these
Yeah.
things. That's why I made those notes, because I knew I would have to constantly want to come back to them, and want a
Mm-hmm.
bite-sized thing that I could read and easily
Little
read
snippet.
digest them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think yeah, even the best of us, have to re-remind
Yeah.
ourselves and come back to center That's why I like the word
Mm-hmm.
sin, how it's an archery term,
Yep.
meaning
Missing the
you're
mark.
kind of off the mark.
Missing the
Not
Right.
mark,
meaning you're
yeah.
not a bad person, but meaning that you can
Yeah.
readjust and re-aim.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. That's cool, man.
That's
Um,
crazy. I wonder if, sorry,
no, go ahead.
just a random thought. I wonder if repent is the same archery term.
mm,
Not like archery, but like just because like repentance is essentially turning towards God, essentially re-aiming after you sin.
mm,
You
Basically,
know, so
it's a repent literally
you're
means
just
a
turning, yeah,
180
yeah,
what's this called? Turn.
turn,
yeah, 180.
180 turnaround. So you're essentially
yeah,
trying it again. Right on.
yeah.
That's really cool.
Cool. Anyways, what were we gonna say?
Crap. I don't know. I forgot. You interrupted me.
Sorry, that was a random thought.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay, Ryan, you were talking about what were we talking about again, Ryan? You're talking about meditations
Meditation.
condensed, missing the mark.
Constantly
How
having
you
to
always
remind
gotta,
ourselves,
yeah.
having to
Oh, okay.
reintroduce ourselves.
That reminds me of Kobe Bryant. Okay. Um,
Oh,
so I remember this guy. I heard a story. I don't remember the guy personally. I remember hearing a story about this guy. He had an amazing opportunity to go watch Kobe Bryant train. Okay. And he was like, oh my gosh,
oh,
this is going to be flipping awesome. So he wakes up at 4 a.m. with Kobe Bryant and he goes in and watches him. And then Kobe Bryant starts doing the basics. And he was like, that's cool. I know how to dribble a ball. I can't wait until Kobe starts doing the cooler things. And then Kobe did another basic drill. He's like, okay, maybe he's almost done with the basic drill so he can start doing the cool stuff.
Mm.
And then for 4 hours straight, he just did basic drills. And then the guy went up to Kobe. He's like, dude, what was that? What happened? And then Kobe,
My popcorn's gone, dude.
yeah, what the heck, dude? I wasted my
I
time.
want a refund.
And then Kobe just said, don't forget the basics. And so that's just kind of where uh,
Mm,
whatever you're saying, Ryan, that's what I thought of is like, don't forget the
Mm-hmm.
basics. You just kind of have to keep reminding yourself of, um, because your thoughts are going to be repetitive,
Mm-hmm.
like you have a lustful thought about a woman and then you have to remind yourself, and you have to kill that thought. And then you go to the gym and there's another girl, you got to remind yourself. And then you go to the store, there's another girl, you got to remind yourself. You got to go to the
yeah,
work, there's another girl. And
yeah.
so, and then it becomes a part of your character where the Bible says in Romans 12, the renewing of your mind, where the scriptures and the mind of Christ becomes of your character, where you don't even have quote unquote lustful thoughts anymore because you've kind of filtered it out through the word of God. But yeah, that's basically what you reminded me of is he just kept repeating himself. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
don't forget the
Mm.
basics.
It is almost like we are our own dog walker, you know?
Mm.
It's like our
What kind of
brain's
dog are
on a
you?
leash. Probably like a Jack Russell Terrier,
Nice. I'm one of those slow,
just like white
droopy,
and
like
spunky, I hope.
sheriff dogs. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Oh
Great
yeah.
Dane?
I don't know if
Is
that's
that
what
what
they're
they're called?
called. Let me see if I can. I'm just gonna Google droopy dog.
Gross.
Let's see what comes up.
Oh
But
no, here we go.
what I was reminded of with the whole coming back to it was pray about it as much as you think of it. Just because like, and it's a battle because I mean you want to be confident in your prayer like when you pray.
Sorry, Charles. I don't mean to interrupt you,
Huh?
but that guy.
I can't see
Yeah.
it.
Like the
If I was a
bloodhound.
dog, you can't see
Oh
it.
yeah. Now I can, but it was all the way
If
to
I
the
was a dog, it'd be
right.
Is that
that
a
guy.
bloodhound?
That'd be you.
It just says droopy dog. Top cute
Oh.
droopy faced dog breeds.
Stupid dog.
His name's Droopy. Say what up. Go ahead, Charles. In my bed.
Anyways, before I was rudely interrupted.
Hey, you reap what you sow. You interrupted
It was
me, now
one
I
time.
interrupted you.
But essentially, like, yeah, like we do want to have confidence in our prayer and that, like, yeah, like God is listening and everything. But at the same time, like our thoughts are repetitive. Like they're like, like there are a lot more times where I'm thinking of the same situation, um, versus just thinking of it one time, praying about it, and then being like, kind of
Hmm.
and essentially brushing it off.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I always tell people who are like going through whatever or thinking about something like or like a certain person, I'm like, just pray about it as much as you think about it, just give it to God, essentially. But yeah, that's what that reminded me of.
What? Just kidding.
Right. Yeah.
Were you even listening?
It's a droopy
Constantly
dog in you.
reintroducing it.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna hate
Um,
me.
What?
hmm.
I have not
Is
been
this a
recording this
segue?
entire time. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
That would
Oh,
have
dude.
been
I was like,
terrible.
that
I
sounds like a
looked at
you problem.
yeah.
I was like, oh, this is a fun conversation.
Guys, the lens cap has been on.
His screen's been black
What?
the whole time. Nobody said nothing.
Guys, I've completely forgot. I don't even have a podcast.
That'd be
Yeah,
crazy.
Crap.
YouTube kicked it off. Copyright reasons.
Um, Copyright. But yeah, speaking of Marcus Aurelius, I liked the way he talks about how he would pray. Um, and I try to integrate. Well, actually, I have integrated the way he recommended praying since I read the book, and he would say things like it's not some way to save my child. It's God, can you give me the patience and the grace and the strength within this time?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's not hey God, can you give me this job, this high paying job? But
Mm-hmm.
God, can you give me the opportunity to manage my emotions and thoughts about this topic in a
Yeah,
healthy way? It puts the ball in your court. And
right.
but it's what's interesting is when I pray about it, I do see that God manipulates reality in a way that it does give me opportunity, the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. Because like what you were saying, Charlie, earlier about regardless of what you want, what outcome you want, it's in God's hands ultimately, and it's
Mm-hmm.
up to God. Um, so it is it is interesting, which um, in which I guess this ties back into having to reintroduce and recondition ourselves. I will pray for something every now and then,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, despite, I know whatever God wants, God's gonna get. So that's
Yeah.
why every night I also end my prayer with, God, I relinquish all illusions of control and I give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
have no control, which God always maintained the control, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
almost telling myself I'm going to let go of this illusion of
Yeah.
control. It is difficult to just kind of, because it feels like we're in a raging river, but it's God's river, and it's hard
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
stop fighting the current and just let go. And
Well, that's a weird image that you just gave me because I was of the raging river. Like you're so you're like kayak like whitewater rafting, and you just kind of
mm,
stop and just
yeah,
let the water. Yeah, that was a crazy
Yeah.
thought.
I don't know. It's kind of cool because in my mind, it's like the river's like splitting up, and in your mind, you were gonna go that way, but then the Lord's just kind
Mm-hmm.
of directing you to go this way, and you're like, no, why am I
right.
going this
Yeah.
way? And then it works out in your favor.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
And I
maybe
guess
that's actually
that analogy holds because each, a turning of your paddle or correcting of your weight and adjusting your balance, that is
Mm-hmm.
each action that you're taking in the present moment. But
yeah,
regardless, the river's going to take you where it's going to take you.
right,
If you continue to make the right decisions in your day-to-day life, that's the only thing I have control over. Is what
right,
am I going to do in the net?
Mm-hmm.
What's my next step?
yeah.
Yeah, the
And God
next
is so
step
gracious
analogy.
too. If we veer off into the wrong direction, if we kind of just paddle in our own direction, want to go to the left when
Mm-hmm.
God wanted us to go to the right, He's so gracious to bring us back into His original plan. Because it's not like one wrong decision is just going to veer us off and we mess up. That's I heard a really cool analogy where I personally don't believe that there's only one person for you, like a soulmate. Because someone was like, if there was a soulmate, only one person was made for you. What happens if they get married? You're screwed. And so basically, it's like there's multiple options, which is really really cool. So basically, it's saying like if we make the wrong decision, God is going to bring us back to His initial original plan, which is really cool, which opens up the door for grace because we're not perfect and we're human and we're gonna mess up. So I like that.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, well,
Wow,
yeah, I fought with your dad in
Yeah.
the Clone Wars. Did you guys see
that's
that
pretty.
TikTok of that guy imitating Owen Wilson?
No, but
No,
that was a
that's not with your dad in the Clone Wars.
that was
He's
a
a
pretty
pretty good
good
pilot. Kind of like somebody I know. Guess what? That's you. I'm sorry, it
that was pretty
always
good.
gets me.
That was a good Owen Wilson impression. Whatever happened to that guy? He doesn't act anymore.
Yeah. I have no clue.
I couldn't
Probably
tell
off
you.
bleaching his hair somewhere.
Is his hair fake? Is he not blonde?
I don't know.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I don't know. Um, but it is interesting though, because um, like how God does manipulate reality. I think I asked God for the opportunity to be patient, or I forget. And then the next day, he
Mm-hmm.
presented me with a scenario that
Opportunity
was
where you have to practice patience.
where it was really out
Patience.
of the blue, very specific. I don't remember what it was, but
Hmm.
I do notice that God will manipulate reality in crazy ways. And I'm like, there is no way that was a coincidence. You
Hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind
Yeah,
of nuts. Do you guys have any examples of God manipulating reality around you to where you're like, okay,
absolutely.
that was God. That was
Absolutely. I'm
What's the
not going to be
first thing that
specific
comes
because
to mind?
I think this person listens to the podcast, but I was in Go Ministries and there was an
Can we call him
individual that,
Susie?
yeah, I'm not going to name them, but their name is Derek. Just kidding. But there's an individual that I just was not really fond of, and I had a hard time with them. Just their character, their personality would just grind my grits. And like, dude, why are you the way that you are? Okay. And I was like, Lord, like, teach me and help me be their friend. And guess what? It turns out towards the end of the ministry, it was just me and him in the dorm rooms, and I was around him all the time. And I was like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
what the heck? And it turned into a pretty great, awesome relationship. Like I forced myself to hang out with him. Um, because it's like out of all the people, this guy stayed and he's like down the hallway, like, and I
Hmm.
have to make conversation with this dude. And of course, I didn't have to, but I wanted to because I knew that that was uh, a
I
prayer of
think.
mine. And so, out of all people, I got stuck with him. And so it was pretty funny how that worked out.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah,
Charles.
Mm, I'm trying to think.
don't hurt yourself.
Oh, um, nah. I mean, I guess just like my attitude
Nah, huh?
towards everything. I guess just like for like my personal like attitude and way
Oh,
of life and thinking could be
mm,
a sense of God manipulating,
mm,
or manipulating sounds weird, but just God changing the direction of my life.
Mm.
Um, Even like going to Bible college, like it was never a thing for me. Like I would hear my pastor talk about it, and I was like, all right, cool, like good for you. Like I'm not Bible college material. Like I could never. And throughout time, um, and throughout like the rearranging of my own heart, it was like more like, oh, like I'm curious on what Bible college can do for me. Like what can I learn out there? What can Rhema, teach me? And essentially it turned into like I'm going to Rhema Bible College. And so yeah, so that's what I would say about. And I mean, like I've gotten things like I got a free snowboard, um, which was cool. I can't necessarily say that was God manipulating my life, but it was a cool blessing,
Mm. Yeah,
and
that's pretty sweet.
and I've been blessed with the just God's peace, like internally, like through almost every situation, I know that He's there with me, and it just has this overwhelming effect of just I'm gonna be okay.
yeah. Is manipulating the right word? Because I'm like,
That's what, yeah, yeah.
I'm
That's why I
thinking
stopped saying
about
it
it.
because manipulation sounds weird. Because I'm thinking
Right.
of manipulation like
It's like
like
a bad thing.
yeah,
I'm gonna
and it could just
manipulate
be
you.
our problem. Yeah,
Yeah, no, because in my mind,
The
it's like if
therapist
I'm
manipulate. What did you say?
it's
oh, because I was gonna say like in my mind, it's just God answering our prayers. Like we're praying for Lord, give me patience, and then He presents a situation for you to practice patience.
Mm. Mm.
What is therapy manipulation?
Because they try to guide you into you kind of figuring out the answers, just so
Mm.
that, which
But is
this guidance is
manipulation
technically a
guiding?
manipulation. It's technically, I mean, when you're
I-
molding clay, you're technically manipulating it,
I'm gonna Google it.
but it is
Yeah, I don't know. I
But
think I
first,
just have a
before I
bad
Google,
rep with manipulation.
how does
Wow,
that make you feel?
Can you say something, Brandon?
manipulated.
Just so that it focuses on your monitor. I didn't see the picture really.
Oh, yep. There you go.
There
That's
it is.
Mike something from My Pillow.
Wow,
Okay.
I feel
Anyways, let's see.
manipulated saying that. But yeah, I mean,
Manip.
like maybe that's just it because like I have a bad rep with manipulation, with the word manipulation. Just because to
Definition.
Yeah,
me, it's like with relationships, it's like somebody trying to direct a person's life for their own benefit.
yeah, yeah. You can either it is like a form of like sneaky guidance,
Yeah,
where you can either
Yeah.
guide someone in a negative way or positive way,
Yeah.
or it could be almost verbal, like in the clay example.
The two definitions.
Charles, did he lose? Oh,
Oh, here he
there's
is.
Charles.
The two definitions
sorry,
that
one
come up
sec.
on the internet is the action of manipulating something in a skillful manner. Reminds me of kind of what you were saying about the clay. Second one is the action of manipulating someone in a clever or unscrupulous way.
Scrupulous,
Scrupulous.
clever.
There was no deliberate manipulation of visitors' emotion. That was the sentence used for that. That makes no sense at all. Interesting manipulation.
Scrupulous way?
Here, I'm going to spell it. I'm a terrible reader. Okay,
I actually don't know what unscrupulous means.
Yeah.
Unscrupulous. Unscrupulous.
Can you
I don't
like
know.
hit
Oh,
it and see the
unscrupulous.
definition of that?
Unscrupulous.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
what's
guess
the
not.
definition of unscrupulous?
Okay, let's see. It's funny. It has an underline because it's it can define it having or showing no moral principles, not honest or fair.
So yes,
So
geez,
does it
that's
say
how it
clever or unscrupulous?
Yeah. In the action of manipulating someone
Immoral.
in a clever or unscrupulous way.
Let's see if the mic hears this.
interesting.
Nope.
No, wow, that was so cool. I'm so
Wasn't
happy
that
we were here for
awesome?
that.
Wasn't that so cool that I just did that?
Oh no, I'm still trying to play
That
with
just
manipulation.
happened.
Manipulation.
Manipulation.
That's interesting. But all right.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a deep question. Does God manipulate us? No, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know because when I
I
hear manipulate, it's a bad thing.
Well,
I don't know.
the question that I'm thinking of is like, is there only I don't know, I guess like one plan or one will? Because
Yes.
like, right, but like, I mean, like the end goal for each individual person's life, like, sure, but I'm saying like the journey, just because there is such a thing as free will, like where we can veer off,
yeah.
Uh-huh.
you know,
Oh, I
and
thought you meant
and it
like
says
God's will. Gotcha. Are you is that what you're
no,
talking
no,
about?
no.
God's will or like our will?
Well, well,
Probably
like,
both, how they intertwine.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
just because, well, yeah, like I feel like at the end, like, and well, at the end, it's just like God's will is like the ultimate goal, which, and I think for each person that might be different. But I'm saying the journey, um, I don't think there's one essential plan for to how to get there because there is such a thing as free will where we can go, God's way essentially, and then veer off and do our own way, and
Right. And
then
then he can bring us back.
depend. Yeah, and it even
Yeah.
says biblically that like he can use all of that for our good and his glory.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
but like that was just my question of like if there's multiple, I guess, plans. If we're
Hmm.
talking just because we're talking about like manipulation, like is there multiple ways to get to the end goal?
Hmm.
Like this might sound kind of morbid, but like if say one path I ended up in heaven and one path I ended up in hell from the way I lived my life. And regardless of where I end up, both outcomes still serve God's plan. Is that possible?
I don't know. I don't think.
I
Okay,
don't think God's plan would
this
be
is
for
a
you to
great
go
question.
to hell.
Right, I was going to say that this is where we're getting
That's
into
what we
some
said.
juicy stuff. It's not God's will or God's plan that you end up in hell.
Not God's will, but God's plan's still going to happen, like regardless of what happens to me because of my choices.
Yeah, because I think I see, but that's another big question too. Because so like my question is like, what if
Because God didn't put me there, I put myself there.
right, and that's what I'm getting at. So with just someone biblically, let's talk about Mary, right? What if Mary said no to being pregnant with Jesus? Would
He,
God's plan have been eliminated,
no, he would
or
have found
would it
someone
have
else.
been? That's what. Yeah. So yeah. So
Find
that
out
that,
a
that, that would have
surrogate.
been my
Yeah.
question. Yeah. So
Right.
so with you, Ryan, God's I with that way of thinking, I don't think God's plan essentially would have ended, but I think you just
You wouldn't have been
wouldn't
part of it.
have done it.
God's
You
will
wouldn't
and
have
God's
done it.
plan are two separate things. That is against God's will, but God's plan is still on track regardless.
Is will and plan two separate things? I thought they. I
Yes.
feel like they would
Because
be
I
the.
mean, it's not his will for me to end up in hell, but it's like if
It's
you
But
have
not
a
it's not
God's
kid,
his
plan for you to
plan
end up
either.
in hell
Yeah.
either.
it's not your parents' will for you to end up in jail, but heck, you're still gonna love them.
I
Because
think
my
William.
It's
mind is
just too
like,
big for my human brain to comprehend.
yeah, my brain just like turned into scrambled eggs for a second when you asked that
Yeah,
question.
that was because I feel like the will and plan are two of the same. Well, I don't know because I literally just said there might be a different plan for the same.
Because if
Okay,
I
you
not,
know
don't know.
what?
then I'm
Let's
going to
let's
end up
let's
in
But
heaven or hell regardless of my choices. It seems like those are the only
right,
two options.
but that's your plan.
will.
Yeah.
I feel like because like
Because in my mind, this
it
is
is
how like I'm gonna go back to the river. Okay. God's will. Okay, and if I start confusing myself as I'm talking and I start confusing you, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to talk with scrambled egg brain. Okay.
as you
When you
can
use
see,
the
we're not
river,
scholars.
so you're approaching a left or right. God says, hey, go left, but you want to go right. And you just keep going the opposite direction that God wants you to. God has a set purpose for your life. Like God has a set purpose that when every time the river breaks, Ryan, you're going to go left. Don't ask any questions, even though you going left looks a little rough, even though the landscape around the left turn looks a little sketchy, just go
Yeah.
there. But you keep going right. And so that's you overriding God's will for you because you want to do your own thing.
Yeah.
Am
That
I
overrides God's will on a small scale. God's will
right?
is not going to be overridden on a large scale, i.e., God's plan.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna Google the definition between will and plan because that's gonna help me.
I feel like will and plan are the same thing. I feel like, but I think the difference is our
Ooh,
will and God's
ooh,
will.
Because
ooh.
there's only,
Oh,
Hold
okay.
on.
whoa, you found
the
something?
The definition of will is the
Okay.
expressing the future tense. Expressing the future tense. Second definition is expressing inevitable events. Inevitable,
Inevitable.
Okay.
which means inevitable means unavoidable. It's gonna happen.
Right.
Okay,
Canon event.
let's look up plan then. This is fun. My brain hurts. Plan, a detailed proposal for doing or achieving something. An intention or decision about what one is going to do. Okay, hold on. So God's will for your life is already planned out, but God's plan, I feel like God's will is already set out, but we're left with the plan because we make the decision to do it. Right?
Because
I
there's
don't
only two
know.
options. Either I could end up in heaven or hell because I have free will, or it's decided I'm going to end up in heaven or it's decided I'm going to end up in hell. Like those are the only two scenarios.
Wait, are you saying
Like
that second
regardless,
part, regardless of what you do, you're gonna end up in heaven or
in
hell,
A or B.
or you have the choice to end up
Yeah.
in heaven or hell.
There's only
Interesting.
two options. There's only two things it could be.
Well, it is a
I
choice.
think
That's
it's
what free
about
will
well,
is
And I
because
think
we
it's
yeah,
the
have the
first thing.
choice.
So
yeah,
then
you
that
have a
means
choice to do it.
regardless of where I end up, regardless of the amount of possibilities of outcomes, the larger outcome is going to be okay,
Well,
i.e. God's plan.
the way I hear this, the way I hear regardless of what happens, it sounds like predestination. Are you talking about predestination?
I was saying it's either
The second part was
malleable. It could be A or B, or it's
or you're predestined
predestination.
to.
Or you're
Oh,
Okay.
predestined, which I don't think it's predestined.
Yeah, I don't believe
yeah,
in. Do you believe in predestination? Because I don't.
I don't.
Okay, Charlie, do you do?
no,
Do you do?
no.
Okay, sorry, my
But I
my
think some
brain's
people,
scrambled right now.
I don't know. You know what's crazy? Well, yeah.
Mhm.
I guess essentially in this conversation, um, I mean, there is such a thing as free will, so we can most definitely kind of choose to do God's will and to be in His presence, i.e., going to heaven, essentially, or being away from God and away from His presence, i.e., hell. But it's a choice, you know. It's like no, I don't think there's such a thing as predestination.
But
Right.
God's plan will
What?
still be fulfilled regardless of either scenario.
Ye- So if you go to hell, I think
God's bigger
um,
plan.
God's bigger plan will be fulfilled because He can use someone else. Because there's a late. Am I making sense? Are we on the same wavelength? Because I don't want to confuse anybody.
I think
I think it
so.
was just honestly just a question just to talk about it because it's
Oh,
fun.
okay. It is
No, this is
fun.
a fun question.
Because
It's chat friendly.
there is a minister or was a minister. Her name was Catherine Kuhlman. Um, she lived way back in the day. Her ministry was powerful. She would heal people, raise people from the dead, and stuff. And she heard the Lord say that I gave you this ministry because the three men I called before you said no. Um, and so the Lord has called you, but if you decide not to do it, then He will give it to someone else.
Well, so when it
But
says
sorry,
God's
Ron.
plan, is it like His plan for all living beings or all souls? His plan for the
Well, I think His
universe? His plan for
plan is
Yeah,
for everyone to
reality?
be getting to heaven.
So his
That's His
plan is
plan,
it just limits to the human experience. Well, I guess that makes sense because that's all we could even
right?
yeah.
understand or comprehend.
Acknowledge. Yeah, because I mean, that was my big question. If like, let's say, like what would be the bigger plan, essentially,
Right.
Right.
you know? Because like if Ryan said no and or like Ryan said yes or no and ended up in heaven or hell, like okay, cool. Like if we're talking about a small piece of the bigger plan, then what's the bigger plan?
Mm.
Mm,
But I guess with if you were to say no, maybe we wouldn't see it, like me and Brandon, like, or like I guess anybody in the family wouldn't see it personally because you said no. So therefore, and then if somebody said yes, we would only be able to see it from the outside looking in, just the works of Earth or just the works on Earth, and then whatever happens at the afterlife happens.
Mm. Maybe it's like regardless of all the rivers, what what routes they take through the geography
Yeah,
that they're in, the ocean's going to be cool. The ocean will be okay. The
hmm
water will get there
right.
somehow. So whether through evaporation
Interesting.
or direct connection or some other way.
Yeah.
mm.
I
Well,
don't know if
because like
that's a good
what's because
analogy.
I was trying to think of this like biblically, and there's a man, Nebuchadnezzar. I think he's a Pharisee. if I'm not
He's a religious
mistaken,
leader, yeah.
or a religious leader, yeah. And he meets Jesus, and tells him to follow me, and essentially he says no. And we don't hear about Nebuchadnezzar. Either we don't hear him at all in the rest of the New Testament, or we hear him very like rarely in the New Testament. So just to kind of put it in biblical sense, like you can say no, but like it's just not gonna, you know, be it. I think I could be butchering it. I've only read the Bible one time so far, so
No, it makes sense.
You
but
went
that's a
through the
story.
entire Bible? You read the
Yeah,
entire Bible?
yeah.
Dang.
I'm doing it. I'm
By
doing it a
yourself?
second time. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Well, not necessarily by myself. There's a program where you could read it in a year, or a devotional where
Mm.
you could read it in a year. So my pastor bought me that, and I got through it finally. And so this is my second time. This will be my second time reading the whole Bible once I finish it.
Have you got
But I
through the whole
remember,
Bible, Brandon?
Never in my life.
Or pretty much like you have the meat of it?
Yeah, I have the meat. Well, here's the thing. So, I've recently just started reading Old Testament stories. I was never really turned on to the Old Testament. I don't know why. Um, Mainly just because in my mind is the New Testament, the New Covenant, Jesus, and so I would like my New Testament in my Bible is just marked up because that's where I mainly rest. But I don't know. I've been kind of turned on to the Old Testament, and like there's really cool stories. And my pastor says you can't know the God of the New Testament until you know him in the Old Testament because he's the same. And yeah, so I've started reading the Old Testament. I'm currently going through David. Well, I'm reading about David, his life, which is his life's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
David's crazy.
yeah, he's a cool flipping dude.
I don't know, I'm still thinking about that question. Because so just going back to that biblical story of like Nebuchadnezzar saying no, we have somewhat agreed that if somebody says no, somebody else will say yes, and therefore they will be handed that responsibility. So
Absolutely.
therefore, who, and I might have to go back and read the story to really get this answer, but who was Nebuchadnezzar's replacement essentially?
Who took Nebuchadnezzar's spot?
Yeah, essentially, because he said no, somebody else said yes, so therefore, who got his responsibility?
Hmm.
If I'm thinking of the story correctly.
I don't know. Maybe it's like a you kind of zoom out, and I could be totally wrong. This is just us talking about it, but maybe Apostle Paul took his spot because maybe Nebuchadnezzar. I don't know who he was. Maybe he was a really good writer. Maybe he was supposed to write letters to the church and do his thing,
Yeah,
but he said no, so he handed it down to
that's what I'm
Apostle Paul.
saying.
I don't
Like
know.
I feel like I would have to reread
Yeah,
the New
I don't know.
Testament to really get that answer because I haven't.
Yeah,
I honestly I've never really thought of it like that. I'm just,
yeah, I don't
well,
know.
like at least like this deeply. I've always been like, okay, well, people say no, some people say yes. It is what it is.
Yeah, but
But I've never questioned like who replaced who in this sense.
it's so cool because even if we live a life that says no to God and we're on our deathbed and we finally say yes to Him, we'll be in heaven, which is really crazy to think about. And we see that when Jesus was being crucified. One of the dudes being
With
crucified was
the
like,
thieves.
Don't forget me in paradise." And then Jesus says, "I'll see you there." And basically, he gave his life to the Lord on his deathbed. And so it's kind of crazy to think about how there are people in heaven who lived an entire life not for the Lord, but then they got saved that moment. Oh, Ryan disappeared.
Oh,
So
okay.
maybe his
This
laptop
topic
died.
for my brain.
But
Well,
what are your
are you
thoughts on
still
that,
recording?
Charles? Or do you got to go? Do you want to leave?
Oh, no. I'm good. Um, what was I gonna say? What were we talking about?
We were essentially talking about how people can get saved the last minute on their
Yeah.
deathbed.
So that kind of brings me to another question of do you think there's different levels of heaven? Because
No,
so
I
like
think heaven is heaven.
you don't think it's just one big place?
Yep, absolutely. I think there's different. So I had to Google this. I don't want to just talk out of my butt. Hold on, Ryan just texted.
Yeah, he said his internet might be down. Loser.
We are still here if you can come back. But anyways, the Bible talks about, I have to look it up, where there is a robe of salvation, but a crown of righteousness. And so a robe of
Mm,
salvation is you just gave your life to Christ, but a crown of righteousness is you lived for Christ. And so
mm.
we will be able to tell,
Who
um,
did what?
basically, it's like we can see by what you're wearing or by what you're doing in heaven the life that you lived. Um,
Yeah, because that's wasn't my question about like just obedience.
robe of
But yeah, I
salvation.
would have to see that scripture.
Let's see, robe of salvation. Oh, okay. So there's two different robes. Okay, the garment of salvation and the robe of righteousness. Um,
Oh, the crown of salvation.
yeah, it's on a crown. Is a garment of salvation and a robe of righteousness.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
let's see, let's see, let's see. I'm looking for, and we see this in Zechariah 1 through 4. Salvation came through Christ. Yes, it did. Isaiah 61:10. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in my God. For he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. He hath covered me in the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride ordineth herself with her jewels. Your conversation earns you salvation, but you need to grow in grace by the Spirit of Christ to be clothed in his righteousness.
Mm,
Interesting. Psalms 10:28. For thou wilt light my candle, the Lord my God will enlighten the darkness. That seems like a pretty cool study. Garment of salvation, the robe of righteousness.
yeah,
That's
because
sweet.
that's always been my question of like, um, just like with different levels, because like there's obviously like there's different obedience, like you've been doing this for longer than I have. Like we had, and then we have different people who grew up in the church and have kind of kept the faith their whole lives, and then there's people who have never kept the faith. Um, so it's just that question of like, are we all gonna be in this one thing and like wearing the same thing, or like
Mm,
are we gonna know, okay, like this person, has the robe of righteousness, but this person only has the garment of salvation.
right.
Um, because like what I would think of is, you can get to heaven, you can get saved, or you can be seated at the right hand of Jesus. Because
Hmm.
I think John and who are the two brothers? I think Luke and John.
Uh,
They were talking about how,
go
or
ahead. Go ahead.
no, but essentially they were talking about how they wanted to be they wanted to be seated at Jesus' right hand, and Jesus said, "You don't know what you're asking. For you to be seated at the right hand, you would have to take the take the same gauntlet of despair as I have."
Hmm.
And so it's just that choice of like you can be saved and you can kind of live in that, or you can essentially take the gauntlet of despair and live how Jesus lived, which is
Right.
that's
Right. I
so.
remember, I don't know if this is just like a dream that I had or if this was real. And maybe you read it too, but I think we had a book or I found a book when I was a kid that essentially talked about multiple heavens and there was like different levels.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the triumphant church. He said that there's
no, no,
like
no.
three heavens or whatever.
No, that's so in the triumphant church, he was talking about the heavens, which is the earth, space, and heaven. That's what the Greek word
Oh,
means, the heavens or the heavenlies. That's what that's talking about. But
oh,
what I'm talking about is there's like legit in heaven, there's different heavens. There's like three of them. So
oh,
basically you go to heaven and then when you die in that heaven, you go to the second heaven and then you basically just keep going up. It was really weird. Like,
interesting. No,
I don't,
I haven't read anything like that.
I don't remember where or why or how I
But it
got
does
that
put you
book.
into my question. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think there's levels of heaven. I don't think there's like where like the people who just got saved are like in the basement, and then like the people who kind of live like a lukewarm life ish, but they still believe in the Lord were in the middle, and then there's like the
And
top
then
dogs like
yeah,
Billy Graham and everyone up there. It's like no, we're all in one place.
yeah. No, that would be that was my biggest question because that'd be kind of messed up just to
Oh yeah, that'd be
see that.
crazy. So yeah, you're downstairs, loser.
Yeah. Like we all get to see the glory of God, but the people in the basement see like a dim light.
It's just one light and it kind of flickers. It's like sorry, y'all.
Just a
This
light
is all you
bulb.
get.
They can turn
Dang
it on
it!
and off if they want to.
Crap.
But yeah,
When's your going away party? Is that today?
yeah, I had to.
What are you guys gonna do?
They're making new Mexican food, so or Mexican, so like enchiladas and beans, rice, all that. So grandma is
Sick.
essentially, Auntie Kathy is making the queso, and then we're just gonna have like pool and stuff and
Cool.
chill.
Who's coming over?
I couldn't tell you. I invited my homies, uh, my bartenders from work,
Nice.
and church people.
Nice.
So yeah, essentially it like added up to like 40 people, but I know like not everybody's gonna make it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna kick it here, chill with everybody, and then my one of my homies, he has the same birthday as me,
hmm
so they're throwing something for him tonight, and his dad makes really, or his stepdad makes really, really good like smash burgers,
hmm
and he conned me, and he didn't con me, but he conned me into getting one.
Mm.
Yeah, so but yeah, we have a barbecue like on the same day. Like it's so sad. I was like, yeah, yeah, you can come over. I was like, yeah, maybe. And he was like, yeah, I'm making smash burgers. I was like, I have to come over now. Like you should have started
I'm
with that.
back, guys.
What's up, Ryan?
Wow.
Can you
Okay,
guys
now we can start talking
can you
crap
guys hear
about you.
me?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
hear you.
What in the world?
What happened? Did
Full
you just get cut off?
screen. Yeah, just got cut
Uh,
off from the Wi-Fi. What the
Yeah.
heck?
I was
I
actually kind of
hate
happy you
this
disappeared.
view.
Just kidding.
yeah, we're
It's like
talking
Ryan's
mad crap
gone.
about you.
Yes.
What in the
Now we can
world?
really have a conversation.
There we
Bam,
go.
bam, bam, bam.
No.
Wah.
You know what? I
All
like
right.
this view. This view's nice.
Well, actually, okay, I'm waiting for you to be ready, and we could ask, or I
Oh
could
no,
ask
that
my
would have
All
been
right.
funny,
question.
Charlie. You know what? Ryan's back. I actually got to
Cool.
go. It's like,
Am I
dang.
am I
Okay.
choppy at all? Am I
I
choppy
mean,
at
your
all?
No,
I'm on my
quality,
hotspot.
your quality is not the best, but you sound great. But
that's
I can
great.
tell your camera's a little
But
bit.
it works.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Works cool.
Cool.
Is it the qual
Wow.
went down the last time
Yeah.
from before I got cut off?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Cool.
That was a
What up,
question.
Charles? What were we gonna say?
Um, so like when you got cut off, unfortunately, we were talking about there being levels of heaven, or if when you get to heaven, if there will be an acknowledgement on the different lifestyles people lived. So like how Brandon was talking about how you can be saved on your deathbed, or you can live your life for Christ. When we get to heaven, are we gonna know who
Mm,
did what, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
like different levels
mm,
or different he was talking about he found something saying that like there's a garment of salvation and a robe
And
of
a robe of
righteousness.
righteousness.
So like, so just kind of like just to include you into the conversation, do you have any thoughts on that?
on there being different levels of heaven.
Yeah,
I guess
or
it
just like
depends on
different
what.
ways.
It is funny because I do think that the way we lived our life will dictate what we experience in the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I do think that perception does continue to exist, your perception. Um, uh, I don't know if this necessarily answers your question, but because I thought if you are more tied to earthly things and that of the flesh, then that'll keep you probably on a lower vibration and you'll be more tied to your earthly life. And the more you're able to transcend those things on earth, you will probably or at least I think it'll reflect that in the afterlife. So
Hmm.
you will probably be able to resonate on a higher vibration or whatever it is, you know. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's my theory
My thought
of how
is,
that'll look, what that'll look like and what that will be like. If that's even a thing, I don't
Yeah.
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
my thought is, so everything in heaven, is good. So there's no jealousy, there's no sickness, there's no anger, right? It's perfect. It's God's perfect place. And so I honestly don't think there's going to be any kind of like resentment or like jealousy. It's like, oh, Charlie has a robe of righteousness and I just have a garment. I think overall, typically, maybe I don't really think it's going to matter. I think it's like we're in heaven, we're in God's presence, and we're all going to be fellowshipping. We're going to be so happy to see each other. And I don't really necessarily know if, and I do think it does matter at the end of the day, but like towards each other, I don't think there's going to be any like resentment or jealousy towards of it's like, oh, you have a robe of righteousness. How come I didn't get one? I think some people are even going to
Mm.
be more
Yeah.
thankful that they're in heaven rather than what you're wearing. Um, but it's kind of
Mhm.
cool. I don't think like it's crazy we can't even comprehend heaven. Like I like to think
Yeah.
that we can go to the movies in heaven and watch Bible stories that actually took place like in real life. Like if they were like recorded and we can just go back and watch what happened. But maybe that's not even real. Um, so I don't know. It's crazy.
I There's a part of me that I'm kind of curious once we die, I'll be like, whoa, okay. All right, I get it. Like, wow. I was not expecting this at all, but it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just like this
Or it
enlightenment.
might be like, oh, it's so obvious. Like, why didn't, it kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of when you're dreaming and when you're in the dream, the rules of that dream make perfect sense. And then when
Mm-hmm.
you wake up, you're like, wait, what? Like, why did I think? You know, but in the opposite direction to where it's probably something, it might be something very complex and very simple at the same time to where it'll be
Yeah.
like, oh
It's
yeah, duh.
I think it's definitely something we can't comprehend as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just being
Yeah.
because like we are uh stuck with our own understanding of Earth, but
Yeah,
essentially it should be
we're limited.
uh
Our minds are
yeah.
limited. I'm curious whenever we die if it's instant. It's like we close our eyes here on earth and we open our eyes in glory, or if it's like a journey, or if we get like in a chariot and we just
You
ride
gotta
up.
like
I don't
walk
know.
through.
Or like how they have those pictures of
Well,
like the pearly gates and there's like a huge staircase. It's like, dang it, I gotta go
yeah.
up these
Man,
stairs.
that's cardio.
Mm.
Dang it.
That's funny. Do you, so this is like another funny question. Do you think there will be like another essential choice? Let's say like you do die and you have the choice to walk up those stairs up to heaven or essentially take the highway to hell. Do you think that there would be like another choice, or it's just you've already had your chance on this earth, so what you do or like what you get in your afterlife is what you get?
Yeah, it's what you get because there's a judgment seat of Christ. I don't think he's going to present you with a
Mm.
choice because that doesn't really make sense to me. It's like, so you can come to heaven, you lived a great life, but if you want to, I mean, there's that door. Like, go
You can
ahead. But
check
I don't.
out
Yeah.
hell.
It's like
You could
I
check
Just
don't
out
look in
the
it
think.
real
gift
quick.
shop.
It's like you can go check out the gift shop and then come back. No, I don't think that's the case. I don't think
Want
there's a
to check
choice.
it out? I mean, I'm not allowed to do this. I don't usually do this, but you could check out hell if you want.
Yeah, because it's pretty obvious if you
It's
didn't,
like
if
he's
you
like
lived a
that
life.
employee.
Oh, go ahead.
What
What?
were you saying?
Oh, I was saying essentially, so hell is a
Am I
separation from
breaking
God.
up?
Yeah,
No,
you
I
are.
think no. I mean, you're not to me.
Oh, you're
But
breaking up to me.
your
Mm.
life is essentially a hell is separation from God. So if you're going to live
Right.
a life here on earth separated from God, which means you don't believe in him, you're just going to do whatever you want. That's basically what you're going to get in the afterlife. But God is gracious. So like if you believe in him, but you may have not have done the best things with your life, but you like tried your best, kind of like our first initial question. You tried your best with what you've been given. I think um, God will be gracious to you because I think God is just. For example, I think people who go their entire life not hearing Jesus, I think God is going to be gracious to them. Um, versus like, oh, you didn't believe in my son, you're going to hell. It's like I didn't even know who your son was. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So that was a long-winded thought.
Right.
Yeah, I was curious.
But
So that was another question. I saw a scene from an anime I watched, and that's kind of like what happened. Like
mm,
the brother and sister um died in the scene, unfortunately, but the sister was able to kind of go to heaven, and the son was gonna go to hell. But the sister ended up wanting to be with her brother more than wanting to be in heaven, so they both went to hell together. So I was
mm,
curious if like how
Mm.
what you guys thought of because it just pondered a thought in my brain of like oh like is like would there be one last chance? Not I want to
Mm.
say in the afterlife, but I think there's one on Earth. Like you can be on your deathbed, or even in Revelations when it talks about the end times, it does say God gives them one last chance,
right.
but they still reject him. So I was just
Yeah.
curious.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. It's a
Mm.
deep thought, man. I love conversations like this because I mean, we're not there yet. And what's so crazy, like this blows my mind, is like there's gonna be a funeral for Ryan Romero someday. There's gonna be a funeral for Charlie Windsor someday. Like we are going
Yeah.
to die someday. Like that boggles my mind. Like it
Do
hurts
you
my
guys
brain.
have do you guys have certain things you want done at your funeral, or
Not
like
really.
certain like
Just
required?
burn my
I
body.
guess required.
That's it. Just what are we
Just
saying?
burn it.
Burn.
Just burn my body. That's it.
Yeah,
No,
Burn
I
it.
don't want. I
cool.
don't have any special requests. I don't really know if I want to be
Uh,
cremated or buried yet. I don't. That hasn't really crossed my
uh,
mind.
I definitely want to be like cremated. Honestly, I don't even really want a funeral.
What?
Like just like personally, I feel
Same.
like you could get rid of my ashes and call it a day.
Hmm.
Throw a party in my memory, whatever the case is. Like I'm really not
Yeah.
tripping. Like
They
because
can
like I'll
even
be
wrap
yeah
my body in a sheet and dump it in the woods. Yeah.
yeah like at that point,
Don't worry, officer. This
it's
is what he wanted.
you need a handwritten note.
Just see me like just kind of flail like down a hill.
Your body's just
Just watch you roll.
off the mountain. Bye, Charlie.
Gross, gross.
Just because you
But
said that,
yeah,
I'm gonna throw a
Still
funeral for you on purpose.
alive.
that's fine. You do you. I'm just saying, like, essentially, I don't like it's all just flesh. I mean, like, yeah, like remember me, in
Yeah,
whatever way, you can throw like a party, like
Can
a
you throw me
reception for in my name, but like I don't need the whole casket and service or anything. Like, it's just you could literally dump my ashes somewhere,
yeah. You know what bugs
and or
me?
or even like throw them
can you
away
throw me
at
a
that point.
funnel? Throw me a
Yeah,
funnel. That's what I
Hey,
want.
there you go.
you want to know what bothers me?
What?
Huh.
When you're at a funeral and the minister says, "This is what this person would want." It's like you don't know that, dude. You don't know this is what they would have wanted. Like, did you ask them? Probably not. Yeah, it just bugs me.
I
Always
I would
think
love
of
to haunt
like
my
after
friends.
someone dies, if they were there seeing the funeral, I feel like typically they'd probably be like, guys, you don't have to do this. You really don't have to. You
They get
bought a
like
five
the
hundred
vessel
dollar urn.
for
You really
what?
didn't have to do that, guys. Like,
Like
you
they
know,
have they have urns for $40 on Amazon, y'all. Like whoever made that purchase, you're dumb. Like, hey yo,
you're dumb. Yeah.
you're an idiot. Speaking of that, do you guys
I
get
like that little leg. Is that
go
a
ahead.
Lego Jesus?
Oh, it's a little
Is that a
mesh
Lego
Jesus here.
Jesus by your coffee sculpture?
It's a little mesh Jesus. I
Wow.
got it at the headquarters to the Bible app.
Does he move?
No,
Does
he's
the
just a
limbs
little.
move?
He's kind of like made out of the material of an eraser, kind of.
Oh, okay.
But
That'd be creepy if you found them in different spots of the house.
well, what I want to
Itty
do,
bitty JC. Yeah.
I want to buy a bag of like 500 of them and just hide them in random places. That'd be kind of fun.
Uh, we have some people doing that at the church.
Oh,
We haven't found out who yet, but we've been finding the Jesus.
oh, I bet it's you, Charlie. And I bet you're trying to throw him off saying, we don't know who it is yet, but it's actually you. Hey, he no
you won't know until you
response.
find out. You won't
No
know until you
response.
find
It
out.
could have been him.
Exhibit A.
Exhibit A. Guilty as charged, brother.
You're innocent until you're proven guilty. And there's no proof.
You don't know that.
What are you guys talking about?
No fun.
I don't know. At this point, I think it's a great time to close. What do y'all think? Do you have any more questions, anybody?
About it.
Any more questions?
Ryan, you have any more questions? All right. Cool, because I have a question.
That's it, yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's cool.
But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Sip&Awe today. This was a very fun episode. Like I said, I've been wanting to do this episode since like 2 weeks ago when I was in Mexico. So the fact that I get to see Ryan and Charles' beautiful face, I'm just super happy. Wow. Just look at that. Yeah. Look at that. You can now tune into Sip&Awe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe on the McTubi. We're over 600. Praise the Lord. And we're growing. We're doing things. We're doing stuff, and it's awesome. Give a round of applause one more time for Ryan and Charles McDurpy.
Gang, y'all.
Gang. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you guys next time on Sip&Awe.